everyone, what's up and welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be going over 10 must-have Valorant settings which a lot of people do not know about, but these are settings that you're definitely going to want to check out and will definitely help you improve your Valorant. Anyways, let's get straight into the video. Alright, so first I'm going to start with settings that you can tweak within Valorant, and then I'll start talking about Windows and graphics card settings which can also help just improve Valorant. Alright, so first thing I'm going to talk about is enemy highlight color. So there's 4 options for this. By default it is red. Most people have probably changed this, but if you have not, I would recommend a different color. This is what red looks like. I just find it blends in too well with like scenery. But I used to use purple, but I've recently switched to yellow to kind of work with my crosshairs better. For example, if you use a red crosshair, you definitely don't want to use red, or if you use like purple crosshair, you probably don't want to use purple, since it will make it a lot harder to see your crosshair while you're aiming on enemies. Alright, so the next option I'm going to talk about is just below enemy highlight. It's raw input buffer. You're going to want to make sure you have this turned on. It basically will make your mouse feel a lot smoother, but it will respond quicker. So basically, instead of Valorant taking your mouse data from Windows, it will just like take it directly from your mouse, I believe. I'm not too knowledgeable about this setting. I just know that you definitely want to have it on. So I definitely do feel a difference while using raw input buffer. Following down the list, I'm going to skip past map and do that a little bit later. And we're going to go to first person handedness. Why does that feel so weird to say? By default, it will be on right. So this feels really weird for me because I know I use left. And the reason I prefer left is because I have right dominant eye, so it doesn't really matter too much about this, but basically I like to see more of the right side of my screen because my right eye is dominant. So there is a test you can do to figure this out. It's literally like 30 seconds long. I will put a comment down below on how to do your dominant eye test. You might already know, but you basically can just hold your thumb out and put it in front of the object. Make sure it's a little bit of a distance away, and then close either one of your eyes. And if your thumb moves off of that object, that means it's not your dominant eye. So then try your other eye, and if your thumb stays on the object, then whatever eye you have opens your dominant eye. So that's basically how you figure it out. If you want a better explained guide, just go to the comments and I'll have it explained there. Now we're gonna go down to a little bit lower down, and we're gonna go to show corpses and show blood. I'll just add these two together. So first, show corpses. I like to put this off because when you have it, basically corpses can kind of like ragdoll and fall out of place. You might see it with guns sometimes, but for example, if you play Sage and you're trying to res someone, you have to find where they died, and the corpse isn't always like exactly where they died at. So when you have it off, it just shows like a circle where people died, as well as corpses are just less distracting, like you won't see them while you're fighting. And it just helps clean up the map, sort of. Then show blood. I know a lot of people play with show blood off, but when you have show blood off, you can't see if you headshot people through boxes, because if someone's playing next to a wall that you can wallbang and you shoot it, and you have show blood on, you'll see like a blood spray out of the side of the wall, so you know that you hit someone there, which is really useful. So it reveals where they are. First of all, you might headshot them through the box but not even realize that they were there with show blood off, which could get you killed. Alright, so next I'm gonna head over to, I believe it's in video. Yeah, we're gonna go to video and go down to the bottom, NVIDIA Reflex low latency. So if you have an NVIDIA card, you likely have this. AMD, you should not have this, but if you have an NVIDIA card, you're gonna want this on. If you have a RTX, you should have it on, and if you have a GTX, you want it on boost. If you need to figure out what cards you have and you don't know, you can just open up your task manager by going near bar here, task manager. Go to performance and find GPU, so mine's at the bottom, and click on it and you can see the full name of your card here. As you can see, mine's a GTX. So in that case, I want it on plus boost. Alright, so now that we're done with that, we're going to talk about resolution. So by default, you'll have 1920 on. Hopefully this doesn't mess up the recording too much. Let me just see a preview real quick. Alright. So right now I have 1920 turned on. I'm not sure if you'll be able to see the difference easily on this video, but basically when you go down, basically this is similar, it's just a bit more of a stretched resolution. So I'm not sure if you can tell, but it stretches it slightly. For example, here's another one. You like to keep it relatively close to 16 by 9, 16 by 10, relatively close to that. You don't want to go too far off. Like if I choose one of these, it's just gonna make my game look really weird. But I've recently been using two resolutions, one being the two resolutions I like to use the most are 1440 by 900, which stretches it a decent amount, but for recordings I've been using 1680 by 1050 because I just find it looks nicer since it's a higher resolution, but as well. Alright, so next setting we're going to talk about is in audio. We're going to talk about these two last ones. So you do not want mono on, you want stereo. It makes it better to hear, and you want to have HRTF on. It's basically like 3D audio, and it will allow you to hear people better. It might sound weird at first when you set this if you already have it off, but it's definitely worth it.
I try, of course.
Yeah, shut up. Okay. Now we're going to go over map settings. Let me just pause this timer. Just don't want it to end. So for map settings, as you can see my map at the top left, you can see the entire map, and this is what I prefer. I'm not sure. Let me see. What do default map settings look like? You can't reset it to default, I don't think. By default, I believe it's on fixed, and it's on like keep player centered, so it looks like this, as well as it should be much farther zoomed in, so it might seem fine at first when you start playing, but it like gives away, you can't see a lot of info that you would by having it on rotate. And basically rotate, you're gonna want to have keep player centered off so that you can see the entire map, and the mini map zoom is basically like how zoomed in you are on the map. Like if I put it all the way out, you can barely see anything, so 0.9 is a good value to have, as well as this is kind of your preference, I guess. It's how big the map actually appears, so if you make it smaller, it's harder to see. I like having it as small as possible just so it doesn't distract me while I'm playing, but if you can't see very well with it this small, then you can make it bigger, but this is how I prefer it. Alright, now we're gonna go on to the Windows settings. So first thing we'll do is talk about some settings you can do on your graphics card. So the first thing we're going to talk about is digital vibrance. So to get to your graphics settings, you go right click on your desktop and go to NVIDIA control panel. You might have AMD, but you can do this as well on AMD. It's just a different setting you have to change, which I'll talk about in a minute. And once you get in, you should be on this page here by default, and you want to go down to adjust desktop color settings. Then find digital vibrance, and you won't see the change on here, but basically bottom is like black and white and the highest is really high vibrance. I like to go somewhere between 80 and 90. You can go lower if it's too bright for you, but I am going to go at like 92. So for AMD, I believe it's in a setting called hue and saturation, and basically saturation is the same as digital vibrance, I believe. Alright, next thing we're going to go over is mouse acceleration. So this is something you definitely want turned off. And there's a few ways to do this. So first you're going to go your mouse settings. You might have done this before, but go to mouse settings, additional mouse options. Then you'll get this. Then you're going to get a pointer options and make sure enhanced pointer precision is turned off. Basically what this does is the faster you move your mouse, the farther it will go, which means that your sensitivity is changing and it's not staying at the same sense. So when you have it off, it's just more smooth movements, and you know, like, you can actually build muscle memory on where the mouse is going to go. And to make sure that it is 100% turned on Valorant, you're going to also want to type in Valorant on here and click open file location. Then you're going to open file location again. And once you get here, you're going to go back to Riot, open Valorant live, and then right click valorant.exe, go to properties. Oh, I opened live properties. Open Valorant properties and go to compatibility, and then go to change high DPI settings. And then you want to make sure override high DPI scaling is on, and make sure it's set to application. And then basically there's this, like, this will make sure that your Valorant does not have mouse acceleration on. Alright, now for the last thing we'll talk about is background apps. This is more of a performance thing, but I'll share it anyways. You just want to make sure that apps that you don't need are turned off. So if you want, here's something I want on, which is Windows security, you're going to want that running for viruses and stuff. And I use Snip and Sketch a lot, so I have that on as well. But other than that, this is just for my graphics card. I have most things turned off. But if you don't need any of this, then you can just check off let apps run in the background. Another thing that you might not know about is, I'll do this as well, startup apps. So these are apps that start up running in the background. So down here, here's our apps in the taskbar, and some of these startup apps you're not going to want turned on because it makes your PC load slower. This isn't really a Valorant thing, but it's just another tip. So a lot of the stuff you don't really need.